Once again, it's that time of the week where we look at a Titan's Return figure, and this is going to be the last one for a while because the new deluxes are taking their sweet time. You've seen all the Voyagers I have, and I'm not really buying the leaders right now. So this is the bottom of the barrel, and I might mean that in more ways than one, but we will get to criticisms at an appropriate time. For now, we will just focus on what is essentially Generations Highbrow from the Titan's Return line. So, obviously, he is a very Cybertronian and very futuristic twin-rotor helicopter of a very, I almost get like a Terminator 2-esque, like one of the gunships flying by with all the heavy armaments that are hanging off of his wings, off the cockpit. This guy is pretty well armed. He even seems to have some kind of guns going on the tips of his wings. Lots of armament, which is not a bad thing. So one of the things that I do like about the Titan's Return line is how much added detail to the original G1. Because when they stick really firmly to the G1 design, you do end up with things like that. So you actually have a lot more detail on what is essentially the same G1 figure. I mean, it's pretty much the same. Like, you'd still have the very similar shades of blue and off-white. They kind of balance in the same spots. Little hits of red here and there for the paint. Little lines, I like the lines, as well as a little bit of gunmetal gray just to get the tail fin a little bit of detail. That was a good touch, as well as a little bit of the off-white trimming up the cockpit in the classic red. That's accurate to the original as well. Lots going on that makes you think back to the G1 figure. Now, there's a few things that do stand out to me. I do like the heavy gunmetal gray guns hanging off the bottom. Now, that's pretty much the default position you have to keep them in because that's his landing gear, which I am not a fan of. When we get to vehicle mode or when we get to robot mode, this is the inside of his legs. I don't see why he couldn't have had something flip out to be the landing gear on this side, because not only does this make him pretty unbalanced, because the wheels are pretty much centered on the body. If you want the guns in a different position on the toy, that removes the ability to actually stand on its landing gear, which is kind of unfortunate. You do have a few options when it comes to armament on this guy. You can plug the guns into the front cockpit itself and give him a more condensed gunnery look, which I don't mind. But you also have the option of combining the guns together, because once you do, there we go, you actually get a spot for a Titan Master to plug in and fly along. This is one of those times where, I wonder if, this actually mounts. No, don't mount there. Now, I think the mounting position is going to have to be there, in which case the Titan Master is dangerously close to losing his head. There's something ironic about that now that I think of it. But yeah, for the most part, the guns have to be the landing gear, which is kind of a drawback, especially if you don't like seeing the guns. If you want a more clean look, no landing gear for you. Speaking of the look, that's where I draw my criticism with this. See, Titan's Return has kind of gone on this theme of just redo the G1 design with much more detail and more articulation. And for the most part, I think that's a good thing, because it does give you those G1 warm and fuzzies you remember as a kid, because it feels so much like the original toy, but it has all those modern touches that you want. But we've also seen cases like, Mindwipe, where a little bit of reinvention drastically changes the toy for the better. This is where I think the figure needed that, because if we look from the top, aside from the Autobot sigil we can now see, you can tell this is a helicopter that turns into a robot. These huge sections on the bottom are obviously the forearms, obviously the upper shoulder. It's distracting once you notice it. I wish there was something. I wish the gap was covered up a little bit with a panel. I wish this pegged in. I think being able to see that elbow divide the top and bottom sections really hurts it, and that's is intended, by the way. There's the peg, there's the peg, there's the slot for it to go in, so this is correct. It's really unfortunate because it's just so obviously there, and it needed some little bit of reinvention in order to do something better with those arms. Like the G1 toy gets away with a little bit more because it's a stubbier design, but here, yeah, it doesn't work. It's really like a visual distraction for me, which is unfortunate. But at the very least, hey, look, the rotor spin all nice. That's good. Whee! Nice clean rotor spin. Awesome. Whee! Oh. Oh. Yeah, a little pegged a little bit tightly on mine, I think. Oh well. All right, let's get the Titan Master out, and we'll actually see what this one looks like. So we get this vehicle aside, we get this guy up, and hey, look, there's actually a dab of paint on this one. So meet Zort, which was the new Titan Master name. Formerly, the name was Gort, so we have Gort and Zort, and if we ever have to rename it again, I'm sure it will also sound like something Pinky from Pinky and the Brain exclaims randomly. But this one does have a little bit of paint on the visor to actually show you, yes, he does have a face. Gives it a little bit of a beachcomber look now that I look at it. Kind of strange that way. Okay, general rundown in case you haven't seen it. Ball joint at the neck, ball joint at the shoulders, all that, and a double hinge for the knees and the thighs. It's a little bit loose, but hey, you know, you're really not going to use him much as an action figure now, are you? So that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and flip him into his little head mode, and we'll set him aside, and then we'll get into the transformation. Because, guys, it ain't exactly rocket science. Alright, so first off, we unclip those and move them up so they are into their position. It's a little double hinge there with a ball joint, so it's a pretty easy movement. From there, I'm going to go ahead and start splitting things up down here, because everything kind of tabs in together. Ooh, there we go. I have to do that, and then fold these out like so. And you're going to notice a few things a little bit similar if you've watched some of my other reviews. Notice this little waist piece here? Yeah, that's pretty much intentional. That is Scourge's design. Now, there is a temptation to actually rotate this spinal column. However, more accurate is to do this, and that puts the fins to the outsides of the legs, and then just collapse it up together. And that gives you the look you're actually going for. So after that, let's go ahead and flip the hands out. 1 and 2. Go ahead and flip this whole canopy section all the way to the back. Do this little thing. That's a very important detail. Don't forget it. And then go ahead and seat the Titan Master into his head socket, which will give us our completed Highbrow in his final robot mode. And as you can see, yes, as warned, it's not much of a transformation. See, you know, even if you actually remember the heels, you're okay. You can forget the heels, just don't forget the chest. Don't you ever forget the chest. So yeah, he's a very basic transformation as well. You could pretty much see what was going on with him even when he was in his full vehicle mode. Not a whole lot of surprises there. Taking a look at the head now that he is in the head mode, he does have the original toys look to him. If you're a fan of the Headmaster cartoon, this is not the one for you. Go get the import. But if you grew up with the original toy, you should be perfectly happy with this. And I do prefer the toy heads, as they're the ones I was a little bit more familiar with, playing with them as a kid, or just seeing them in the toy shelves and whatnot. So yeah, I kind of prefer what the heads look like now rather than what Takara is going to make them into. So we pretty much got the same basic thing going on. Since the vehicle mode is not a whole lot of a disguise, you got pretty much the exact same representations going on here. A little bit more of the off-white in the hips and the thighs, but for the most part, everything's pretty much in the same location it was before. You do get a few more hits of paint. You can see some off-color blue there on the kneecaps just to make them stand out a little bit. A little bit of overflow on the blue around the hips, which I do like. Breaks up that gray just a little bit. I think it could have stood to come in a little bit farther, but I don't mind it so much. A little bit of yellow in the red, a little bit more of that off-blue color. That's always nice. So, yeah, he's got a pretty solid G1 aesthetic going on to him. Now, there are a few downsides going on. Now, you probably notice at some point, yeah, he's got a wobbly head thing going on. And here's the thing. Go ahead and unplug his head briefly. That little clip is sticking out way farther than it normally does on these Titan Master Toys. Like, if I try to... I've also tried to, like, plug him in reverse, which sometimes when I have these issues tightens it up, and it does prevent the wobble a little bit, but his head still sits a little bit higher than some of the others, so I think there's some kind of QC or assembly error thing going on here. Not an expert in that, so don't quote me, but something is amiss in this figure. Beyond that, not a whole lot of razzle and dazzle to him. He's pretty much, what you see is what you get. As far as like another downgrade from the G1 mode, you don't have any hinges to fold the wings back, so you can't really clean up his look or stop these little things from flailing around. So what else can you do? Well, you've got articulation. You have a ball joint in the neck, if the neck actually wants to cooperate with you, that is. Full ball joints in the shoulders, and along with that torso hinge does give you a decent range of mobility. Bicep swivel, always appreciated. Elbows, they work fine. That spinal transformation does not give him anything in the waist, but you do have universal hips with a bit of a detent to them to stiffen them up, a thigh swivel, as well as a very good knee bend thanks to his transformation. Slanted feet so he can stand at a more natural pose, but nothing that was really going to help you when it comes to ankle rocking and such. But for the most part, he can do a pretty good job posing. Like, I don't think I've really come across a problem with posability in Titan's Return so far, so that all works out for me. I do kind of wish, like, these did stay in place, though. Like, that wing folding thing really would have helped. So we can also bring back his weaponry. We can keep the gun as this big thing for a Titan Master to ride in, but I don't know. I think I'm going to split them back up and give him the separate guns. They do kind of like that double gun look going on. So he at least has some extra accessory going for him. And a little bit of spot for a Titan Master to ride should you want another one joining in on the fun. So that, my friends, is Titan's Return Highbrow. And I'm going to be honest, this one is a little bit disappointing. And it's not because he borrows parts from Scourge. Like, that I actually commend. Whatever they can do to save budget and reuse parts, if that allows them to continue to produce new moldings and new sculptings, that's fine. Like, I wouldn't even call this a remold of Scourge because it's only a few parts to get reused. It's that level of extensiveness. No, what's disappointing on him would be the wonky head joint, which is really, really frustrating, and what seems to be missed opportunity to improve on the G1 design. While the new detailing is appreciated, the updated look is cool, the overall shape just really gets hindered, and I wish some of the reinvention that happened to Mindwipe really happened to here, so we could have gotten Highbrow at his absolute best. Instead, we do get what is a decent upgrade of a G1 figure, but as far as the Titan's Return toy line goes, pretty basic, all things considered.